good. We just want more. Because for one, there's been a huge deficit. A lot of us did not get this growing up. And so when we get a taste of it, it's like that taste of sugar and you're just like, oh my God, give me more. Give me more. And we can become addicted to it. And the pleasure and the dopamine and all that release that comes when these mirror neurons, they kind of like, oh, they sync together and you get me, I get you, and I'm feeling held and I'm feeling loved and it's safe and wow, boom, boom, boom. It's, you guys create like, there's like a synchronized flow state that we have actually, again, because we'll go back up into our head, that's what it feels like to be understood. So they know exactly what I went through, because a lot of times it is people who've gone through something similar, but then we'll require other people to have gone through the same circumstances as we do in order to feel understood, and that's not necessarily true. Or we'll go into it's being understood, and so then we'll do this cognitive understanding process of communication that actually creates some distance, because what we were really feeling was held, received. We just weren't judged. Because this is actually available to people who've not had any experience that's like yours. And then what's also interesting is the experience might not look like yours, but the emotional imprint was very much the same in how they can have empathy. So we have to pull these judgment filters off of what we're requiring from other people in order to be gotten. And maybe even to let off this insatiable need to be gotten and just look at our body and say, I feel safe right here with this person. Maybe words aren't even necessary. Or it's actually enjoyable to be here, and let it get into your nervous system. That will immediately feel good, but then might really quickly feel uncomfortable and will go into that habit of not enough. I need more of this, because that's what we're used to. That's what our nervous system actually feels is normal, is not having enough and wanting more and having a lack. So that when we get what we want, we actually have to acknowledge that we received it and let our nervous systems calibrate to that so that we can move on. I did a mentorship with a shaman when I was in medical school, and I remember her telling me, and this is why venting is initially good but then can move into detriment, is she's like, we need to tell our stories. We need to be witnessed. And a lot of times, one time isn't enough. It would be great if it was. It depends on how intense the story. But she's like, 3 times. You tell a story 3 times, the 4th time is indulgence. And that was just sort of a Native American passing down, because there's not a hard and fast rule on this, but it is interesting that if you tap in and tune in, that when you're telling your story, you can become aware of when you're telling it to amp yourself up, because you like the heightened adrenaline. You can feel the activation, and it feels more powerful and potent than feeling sad or down. So you can tell when you're telling it to amp yourself up, or when you're telling it to actually discharge and let it dissipate and move out of your body. And you can also tell when you've told it too many times that it almost feels a little bit artificial, like you have to inject something in it. You know, like guys who tell fishing stories and have to add details because the story really isn't that great anymore. You know, like it's 15 years old, the fish was only 4 inches long, it really wasn't that hard, the day wasn't that hot, whatever. So you have to embellish, you know, and you can kind of sense that your body's going to let you know that when you grow and in this self-awareness, you're going to be like, it just doesn't feel the same. And I'm trying to make it feel the same, but it's not. That's when we've moved into indulgence, and we're actually then just indulging the story and the way things were. And that's what our subconscious wants to do, because that's how it knows how to keep us alive. Is if I can just do it the way that I did it before, you lived through that so you can live through this, and I just want to keep you alive. You're so precious to me. But your superconscious and your heart and soul are actually, oh, but I want to see this other thing about myself. I want to see what thriving is like. This survival thing's a little bit boring. So how do I get out of this survival pattern? We just be more and more willing to let them go. to know that we're more than our stories. But more and more, like what you're doing, what I'm trying to teach here is how the subconscious works so that we can get it to work for us instead of us constantly working against us, because it's not really sabotage. That's what it's going to appear like if we don't understand the function is just to keep us alive. It doesn't have creative capacity. It cannot project to the future, but it also can't tell the difference between future and past, so that if you visualize the future, it's happening in the present, just like the past happens in the present when you worry about shit, when you get scared of something, when you're trying to avoid it. You're bringing that past right into here and your body sensing it in real time. We can start doing that for the future that feels good, so that when we're in the future that feels good, it's not so foreign, and this self-sabotage mechanism doesn't kick in the same. Amazing. Also, the subconscious functions. It just does. You can't stop it. That will create a lack. And it doesn't respond well to that. That's why start all of my programs, all of them with the future forward focus. How do you want to show up? How do you want to feel? What does bring you joy? Because you need something in its place. You can't just take something out. Otherwise, you've got a vacuum there and it has no choice but to recreate what was. That's because it functions and it can't stop. So you give it a different job to do so that it can maintain functioning, but it's functioning in a way that's moving you forward in the direction you'd like to go. Future forward, okay? And then the how. We talked about some of the questions to get us out of reactivity. Flipping back over, it's to, where are they? How do I want to show up here? What would I like to have happen? What brings me joy? Can I feel my feet? So let's get out of reactivity, because as soon as we set this target, some uncomfortable stuff might come up here. Keeping that in mind so that we can keep moving forward, giving our subconscious something to do. But a lot of the work is practicing setting shit down and walking away. These old habits of protecting the pain, buying into our old stories, embellishing our egos, and even things like overeating, compulsively eating, negative thinking, having to have the last word. We start to recognize these and we catch them sooner and sooner, but the new pattern, and here's what I really came up with again this weekend, is we really love ceremonial components to where we want it all to be wrapped up in a bow. We want things to end all pretty and immediately start something else. Like, these messy processes are uncomfortable and sometimes unsatisfying. And what it really entails then is this practice of, as soon as I recognize my choice, I make a new one from here. I don't have to go back and correct everything and make everything perfect so that I can start over. You know, how many of us have done this? I'm going to start on Monday. So I'm going to make an entire mess of my life and eat as much chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream as I want to on Sunday, because I'm going to start on Monday. Because Monday is special. And yeah, I just fucked up, so I'll wait again till next Monday to start over. Instead of just being like, oh, I just totally face planted. Dust myself off. All right, next. And we just start again from where we are. That's the actual practice and the hard work that we have to do, because it doesn't match our need, our desire. It's really just a desire for ceremonious, neat and pretty. The process wasn't built that way. I am very sorry. If I'm doing my very best to make it easier and understandable, but I haven't found a way to make it pretty and without requiring any practice. Because I haven't met any one person who actually just said, I'm going to do something different, and then immediately did 100% from there on out. Haven't met them. And quite honestly, even though I never want to be pessimistic, I just don't know if that's how things function on this side of heaven. Partly because our process actually becomes a gift to the collective. It creates a humbleness, a remembering, and an ability to empathize with other people who are doing it so that we can be a gift to them, so that we can lend them a hand up. I remember when I was where you are. But the more and more that we do this, the faster the process goes for the entire collective, and we can all be kind of moving in this direction of greater. And in the practice, anything that you can do to create a pattern interrupt, to actually get the subconscious's awareness, because anytime there is that lack, that gap, the subconscious is looking for something. So if you can actually intentionally insert one of those, or intentionally acknowledge when one of those have happened, you start to widen that gap and claim more control over how you want the process to go from there on out. So that's a breath. And again, remember, slow inhale, but an audible exhale to tell your nervous system, I'm safe. Tapping, EFT tapping, just to give different signals to your brain so it's not on rapid fire, we're going to die, okay? Using one of the poses, power pose, to change the chemistry of your body, get some more testosterone in there, feeling like you can do this. Victory pose, whether if it's acknowledgement because I just did something different, acknowledge yourself. Or claim your victory early. I don't know how, but I am going to win on this. You can do a failure gesture or a surrender pose and acknowledge, I totally fucked up right there, but then from this moment on, I let that go. That is, if you're an athlete, that is an amazing thing, because that pass play, the more you bring those forward, the less effective you are, the more you're in your head, and then the other teams pick you out and you're a target, okay? So the more that we can do this, but then the same in our life, because we know that where our attention goes, our energy flows, that if we keep looking at our flaws, the more evidence of our flawed nature is going to show up, or that's how we're going to perceive it. So the more that we can just dust ourselves off and say, yeah, that happened. I had an invitation to rise. I didn't, but I can now. And the more that we do that in faster sequence, the better we are faster. It's just practice. It's just process. This is how we make and break habits. And it is habits that will make or break you. So I encourage you to do several things. Number one, do go get the Goddess's Guide to Breakups if you need any type of resource for breaking up with a habit, because there is some really, really amazing information in there. I have read it 3 times. It's only, like 90 pages in kind of large print, and I made it color. So grab a copy. It's on Kindle, Amazon, okay? Goddess's Guide to Breakups by Dr. JOYLYN Sparkles, okay? It's fabulous. Get that. Get in a happiness clinic program. There is a range of opportunities. All of them are going to train you and help you practice this future forward focus and getting out of some of these habit patterns, whether it's negative thinking, learning how to process trauma and get it out of the body so that you can actually change how your nervous system is firing and how you are perceiving and interacting with the world. Nothing is a life sentence anymore. And then watch this power hour again, because there is so much in here. It's a lot of information. So likely first pass, you're only going to get about half. All right. So watch this again and tag it. Hashtag replay. Let me know that you saw it. Also feel free to share it with anyone, because you guys are badasses. You know badasses who could actually use a boost from time to time. Because what a badass really is a person who's actually willing to face the shit because they know they're ready for greater. But what we can do is keep giving each other a hand up. Here's a resource that worked for me. Check it out. Just share it. The more people that get the message, the bigger the ripple effect. Okay? So Goddess's Guide to Breakups, Happiness Clinic program, which it starts as simple as a call for clarity. We will talk and see if or what program is going to work for you, where to get you started that's the best match. And then this Power Hour, watch it again and again. It's a free resource available to you at any time, and invite your friends because it creates a greater community, and also sharing the information that can help other people. And that can be a gift that you give. All right. Thank you so much. I babbled on for 9 extra minutes, but again, this is my love and my joy, and thank you so much for joining me. I already can't wait till next week. Until then, have a fabulous, fabulous week. I love you madly. Mwah.